Hello, everybody. Welcome back to A24 month. Part 4. At the end of every April and A24 month for that matter, I like to do a little bit of a roundup video. Just go over all the great movies and one TV show that I watched this month. I guess I should start by saying I thought that I wasn't going to do A24 month this month. I've got a lot in my life going on right now that I was kind of anticipating needing to focus on more, and then no. Also have a bit of a frog in my throat, if you couldn't tell. Anyways, let's start off with A24 month Part 4's first movie. First up, we had Undertone, directed by A24. I apologize if I ever mispronounce anybody's name in this video. This movie felt much more like a horror experience than a straight up like horror story, if that makes sense. Like, it felt like that the atmosphere and the tension were more important than the story necessarily, although I still enjoyed the story. I like to say that this movie had me at jump scare gunpoint the entire movie. I've actually had some sound-based horror experiences before, but they were more theatrically based. I saw some shows at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, which is like a big theater festival, where you like go into like a shipping container, put on these headphones, and it's just pitch black. And you're just like, it's ASMR horror. And this movie felt like it was ASMR horror. It's a really cool idea, and I'm glad that we got to kick off A24 month with a movie in the theaters. Speaking of movies in the theaters, I was very excited to see The Drama, directed by Christopher Borgli. Did he say something weird before this movie came out? I don't know. I know that this movie is very controversial, but I do think... Well, I actually don't know that. It's just the people that I've talked to. Some people really hated it for what it included in the movie. Some people really liked it. I'm on the camp side of people who really liked it. I think the conversation that this movie starts is really fascinating. Can we judge someone based on their mistakes that they almost made? You know, should we judge them for that? How do we value forgiveness when comparing our mistakes? And how does that equate whether someone actually did the mistake or not? There's so many fascinating questions you can ask about this. Can we blame someone for thinking about doing something horrible and not doing it? This conversation that the movie starts, and the movie's very good on its own, but the conversation is something that I think I'll never forget because it's just such a powerful idea. The character of Rachel is so, aggravating, but I think a lot of audience members need to take a second and realize that that might be what they would do in those scenarios. And that also is a really great segue into Alana Haim, who is absolutely incredible in this movie, and I think her character really goes to show how strong the writing is. And last but not least, I have to talk about Robert Pattinson and Zendaya. Holy cow, they're always perfect, and somehow it always stuns you again. Fantastic. I really enjoyed this movie. Oh, also, I did I work at a movie theater, and I'm kind of in charge of the posters, and my manager and I, we were like, we should do this, because they sent us a bunch of drama posters, and there's different formations that you can make out of them, depending on where you put them, and this is the one that we made. It was really cool. Just want to say that I did this. This was really fun. Okay, Eddington, directed by Ari Aster. Joaquin Phoenix is incredible. He makes this bitter, sad, conflicted, arguably pathetic character very easy and enjoyable to watch. I think this movie really kicks into gear when about halfway through during the fireworks scene, as in Katy Perry's fireworks, not literal fireworks. It really kicks into gear, and it already was really enthralling. Then it goes to 100 from there. That part of the movie really reminded me of classic thrillers, very Hitchcockian. Is that crazy to say? I don't think so. The rivalry between Joaquin Phoenix and Pedro Pascal's characters are really strong too. They could have very easily... Talking about politics makes me sneezy. Joaquin and Pedro's characters could have very easily been caricatures of two different sides of the political spectrum, but instead this movie makes them very nuanced and interesting and goes into a lot of depth, explaining where they're coming from and why they might hate each other and why they might oppose each other's politics. Friendship, directed by Andrew DeYoung. This movie's very good. I think I said everything I wanted to say in the short. And there's going to be a few movies like that, but very strong movie, very funny. Opus, directed by Mark Anthony Green. This movie, it's still kind of where it is, how I finished watching it. There was so much that they could have done. I think, unfortunately, it got pigeonholed by the fact that the audience going into the movie already was pretty confident that this was a cult, and the characters have to come to that realization, but they take so long to come to that realization that you're just kind of sitting there I know. This movie's very similar to The Menu, a really great movie, where, here's what I've written, where a creative genius invites a bunch of critics to their remote location and then puts them through terrifying scenarios and starts killing them. However, the difference between the two is that The Menu gets to the concept very quickly. It gives you time to get to know the characters, to get them into this false sense of security, but then most of the movie is them expounding upon that, is that even a word? Exploring that idea that they're trapped and this creative genius is gonna put them and like kill them. Blah, blah, blah. Opus does the same thing, except it takes you till like the last 20 minutes, 30 minutes of the movie to get there. And what really sucks is that once we get there, it's really good, you know? The ending of the movie where it's between John Malkovich and Io Debris, both great by the way, and he's talking about the third evolution of humanity. First, it was about strength. Second, it was about mind. Third, now it's about creativity, you know, the most powerful people will be the most creative. That's such a cool idea. Wish you told me an hour and a half before. Like, what was gonna stop them from, like, how would that tip them off that it's a cult if he says that? I don't know. I think that's such a cool idea. You could really explore the worth of creativity, how it compares to other people's. What does creativity even mean to certain people? Like what does your art say that mine doesn't? Because to me it says everything, but to you it might not say any. You know what I mean? There's so many great ideas there. I wish we explored that. Revenge of the Green Dragons, directed by Andrew Liu and Andrew Lau, I believe. This was definitely one of my Hail Mary ones. Like, I saw the title and I thought it was a cool title, and that's the only reason I watched it. I did see some negative reviews. Unfortunately, the negative reviews won. Melodramatic is the word that I would say to describe this movie. The Brutalists, directed by Brady Corbet. Is there AI involved in this? That'd be really disappointing if there was. I really love the score for this movie. This is the first movie I'd ever seen with an intermission. I was so sure that this movie was going to win Best Picture, just because I feel like this is exactly what the Oscars want. They're like, oh yeah, give me the creativity bashed over an audience member's head, yeah. But no, Anora won, and I loved Anora, so I'm very happy about that. I love Sean Baker too. Long, but good. Long, but good. On Becoming a Guinea Fowl, directed by, Rangana Nyoni. I hope I said that name correctly. I apologize if I didn't. This movie was artistic and yet very realistic. I think that is a really incredible line to toe between the two, of like going into this like creatively abstract realm while also still maintaining this realism. A lot is done in this movie without needing dialogue. There is a lot of subtle storytelling that the audience can just pick up just by watching what's happening, and it's really strong. And the main character, Shula, holy cow, what a strong main character. She's so interesting to watch. I love the relationship between her and her cousins. It's great. Parthenope, directed by Paolo Sorrentino. Yeah, I wasn't really, I mean, to be fair, I was kind of like vaguely interested in this movie. Like, I wasn't like dying to see it, and now that I've seen it, it's not for me. It's definitely not for me. I think my favorite review that I've seen of it is it's like a 2-hour perfume ad. So if that's what you want, there you go. The Smashing Machine. Ah. Directed by Benny Safdie, not the Safdie brothers. The Safdie brothers did Uncut Gems and Good Times together, and then those movies have very similar themes and feels and looks and performances and like anxiety-inducing stories. And they both split up this year. I'll get to Josh later, but Benny did Smashing Machine. And funny enough, both brothers did like a similar sports-related topic. But again, I'll get to Josh's later. But Benny did Smashing Machine. And this movie was pretty good. I enjoyed it. I really have to emphasize that I think the best part about this movie, other than the characteristically perfect performance by Emily Blunt, is Dwayne Johnson. He is amazing in this movie. The makeup transforms him completely. He's like a different being. It's amazing. And his performance is really, really strong. I think he did a great job in this movie. I kind of hope that he does more dramatic performances because he could clearly do it. Also, I love Bas Rutten. I think that's how you say his name. But he was in Here Comes the Boom. I love that guy. He's so funny. Sorry Baby, directed and starring Eva Victor. This might be my favorite new movie I've seen in A24 month, because the other two that I'm thinking of that are my favorites, one of them coming up pretty soon, I love. This one I love too. is immaculate. Please go see this movie. It's great. If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, directed by Mary Bronstein. Rose Byrne is incredible. I've always known that. Finally, you get to know that. She definitely deserved the Oscar recognition for this movie. Oh my God. Just like Sorry Baby, I went in blind for this movie. I didn't really know anything about it, and now that I have, I would also go in blind for this one. It's just kind of, it's tough. It's really tough to watch, man. Bring Her Back, directed by the Philippo brothers. God tier horror film. This movie is incredibly disturbing. It was my third favorite film of last year. I don't really like ranking them like that, but yes, that's where it was on the list. Funny enough, these guys were apparently supposed to film the Street Fighter movie that's coming out later this year, but then they dropped out to do this movie, and I would love to know what their Street Fighter movie would have been, because I know that they kind of started in action, hyperbolic action, but thank God they made this movie. The writing and the storytelling is so tight and perfect. The performances. Sally Hawkins is so underrated. Her character is stricken with permanent grief, but commits these sick, unforgivable crimes. So you feel sorry for her, but you're also like, I hate you. Ooh, that is such a strong character. Billy Barrett is the lead male kid in this movie, and oh my God, he's on such a tragic journey. Sora Wong, also really great, but I really have to shout out Jonah Wren Phillips, who plays the possessed boy, the bald one that you see in like all the promotional material. Probably one of the greatest possession performances I've seen of all time. Absolutely incredible. Dude, the scene. That scene. I'm usually not a fan of satanic horror, but this movie establishes its world and establishes the rules of everything so efficiently and so strongly that I can't help but fall in love with it. It's really great. And now this is the time in A24 month that I want to give a special shout out to HBO Max for being a trash app. Don't rewind. Don't rewind. It'll explode. You'll fix your app, man. Men! Directed by Alex Garland. I feel like I understand this movie. I just didn't click with it. The Spectacular Now, directed by James Ponsoldt. Very good. It's a really unique idea for like a romance coming-of-age movie. It's really good. Highest to Lowest, directed by Spike Lee. I do want to give a shout-out to a specific comment that... Let me see if I can find it. Hold on. This comment was really funny. Hey, thanks, bro. I was actually really curious what a guy who looked like you thought about the work of Spike Lee. And then I commented back that. This movie was an American remake of Akira Kurosawa's 1963 Japanese film, High and Low. Cool. I don't know. I actually have quite a few mini criticisms with this movie. I don't know why we stay in the apartment for so long in the first half. I get it if I think it restricts the plot. Because I get it if the idea is to set up this reveal of like, oh no, they didn't take their son, they took his friend. Oh no. But even then, we don't really strike upon that. I don't know. It's just from the outside, I thought this movie was going to be a lot more exciting because the subject matter is exciting. And then once we finally get out of the apartment, it starts picking up for me. But even then, I just, like, come on. I really like the choice of the orchestral, musical, like, music throughout the movie. It kind of adds this interesting idea of story formatting and also just like the clashing styles, I guess, but sometimes it felt really distracting. The editing is also weird sometimes. Usually with editing, for example, if I was going to edit this, I'm cutting on action, closing on action, or cutting on action again, whatever it's called. I'm not like a great editor. I've picked this up on my own. But in the movie, they would do stuff where it'd be like, you'd see the action, you'd see it again, and then you'd see the action, and you'd see it again. That's a really weird choice, but okay. In my opinion, it feels like the story takes a backseat to the actors' performances, and they're great. I really think Jeffrey Wright is fantastic in this movie, but I don't know. It just wasn't clicking for me. Next, I watched Obvious Child, directed by Gillian Robespierre. I hope I'm butchering names. this. This was an early A24 movie. I think that the earliest that we've touched upon in this month so far. Jenny Slate is incredible, but special shout out to Jake Lacey. He is the perfect everyman romantic lead in anything. He's a handsome, funny guy. Najah 2, directed by Yu Yang. This one was funny because this is like the most obvious modern example of A24 just distributing a movie. Now, I think they were in charge of the English, like, American, like, dubbing of the whole thing, and, like, cool. I don't really like dubbing, if I'm being honest. For me, I think it takes away from the original actors' performances, so I wish I got to see this with captions, but I couldn't find that on HBO Max. Thanks, HBO Max. Having sat with this movie longer, I get that this is awesome. It's really cool. It was hard for me to get on board with the story at first, just because I think it was so all over the place, and it did feel like a different culture's way of storytelling, which is always really cool to me, but it's hard to pick up on sometimes. And also, this was pretty... there was some pretty established stuff from the first movie that I didn't get the chance to watch before this. So it was hard kind of jumping into this world that was already established, already on the move. Pick up, you got to get going or you got to get off, you know? Spring Breakers, directed by Harmony Korine. I have actually talked to some people, and I've seen a lot of conflicting opinions about this movie. Rightfully so. I'm not saying my opinion's the best. I am 100% biased. Do not take me as fact. My biggest thing about this movie, and this was what I harped on in the short, why is Jeff Jarrett in this? I love Jeff Jarrett. No, I'm just joking. The biggest thing I was harping on was, is this exploitative or is it artistic? I can't tell for the life of me. I could see that it's like an artistic, abstract, hyperbolic, exaggerated is a better word, take on spring break in college in the early 2000s or 10s or like whatever. But I don't know. For the longest time, I really just felt like this movie was very, like, gross, kind of. Frankly, it's written like a porn. They get their actresses to say so much, like, graphic stuff, and I'm like, those characters in real life would never say something like that. That's weird. And the plot is really thin, too. There's a lot more style over substance. And there's never really any tension in the plot because the four girls are basically bought by this drug dealer and they're taken back, and when they want to leave, they can leave. There's no, like, worry. They just go home. And so the entire movie, I'm like, go home. I don't know. It wasn't clicking for me as much as I wish it was. Materialists by Celine Song. I like this movie a lot. Great stuff. Great romance. Not rom-com. Eternity, directed by David Frayne. Elizabeth Olsen, Miles Teller, and Callum Turner. I don't think I really harped on how great their performances are in this movie. But speaking of great performances, Dave I Enjoy Randolph, mwah, as always. But also John Early. He's great. My only complaint is that I wish it didn't see any of the real world stuff. I wish we just jumped straight into the junction, as they call it. Also, this movie's got great music. I had a great time. This is a very lovely, quaint, beautiful movie. Go watch it. The Beef, Season 2. Created by Lee Sung-jin. Great series. I had no idea how they were going to pull off a Season 2, because Season 1 felt so, like, perfect and encapsulated. And Season 2's great. To be fair, if you called it something else, it would not change anything. There's no need for this to be Beef Season 2, but it is. And it's great. I don't remember if I mentioned the actors. Oscar Isaac, Carey Mulligan, Charles Melton, and Kaylee Spaney. They're all fantastic. Apparently Jake Gyllenhaal and Anne Hathaway were supposed to be in Oscar and Carey's roles. That's very interesting to me. What a fun possibility in the multiverse. I also wanted to shout out Yoon Yo Jung and Sung Kang Ho. Great performances. The music is also done by Phineas O'Connell. Fantastic stuff. And this, I don't really want to go into many details just because this would just be another 20-minute segment of the video. But the story is really strong. It is perfectly crafted to create this weird amalgamation of drama and tension, but also comedy of errors. The tension was so thick at times. I felt like that cat meme where I was like, stop fighting, please. And then our final field trip to the theater movie of A24 month, which is also the second to last, Mother Mary, directed by David Lowery. I think I said everything I wanted to say in the short. I really enjoyed this movie. I also think that this would be a great play. And last, but certainly not least, Marty Supreme. This is what you want. This is what you get. This is what you want. this is what you get. Directed by Josh Safdie. As I mentioned earlier, Benny and Josh split up in 2025 to direct their own movies. The major differences between Marty Supreme and Smashing Machine is that Marty Supreme has an elite story. This movie's story is so enthralling and exciting. The pursuit of the American dream, despite being an asshole, is a really interesting story. I mean, the ping pong subject alone is enough to get me interested in the movie, but there's so much going on. Okay, let me speed through this before my computer dies. Michael B. Jordan was the right choice for the Oscar, but Timothée Chalamet puts on an equally Oscar-worthy performance, but I'm so happy Michael B. Jordan got it. Oh my god. Odessa Azion, please tell me I didn't butcher that. Gwyneth Paltrow, Fran Drescher, Tyler O'Con... Oh, I can't read my handwriting! Tyler, the Creator, all put on incredible performances, including Kevin O'Leary. Until he went on the press tour. And that's that. That is... Stay. That is A24 month. Thank you so much for going on this cinematic journey with me. I'm very excited for some of the new movies coming out. Backrooms is going to be big. Death of Robin Hood. That sounds like an interest. That died. I'm going to be legit furious if this, because I'm not filming this all again. Hold on. I'm going to trust that it saved, but in the case that it didn't, just know that I quit. I quit YouTube. For real. Goodbye. No, but seriously, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And maybe I'll do this next year. Maybe, I don't know. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.